Okay, it's Friday. I'm gonna do a quick one, just because I have a couple things I have to get done today. Years ago, when I was in education mode, I had a chance to go to Georgia State University and get a degree in recreation and leisure. Yes, yes, that there is a program where you can study recreation and leisure. But you know something? The more I looked at it and the more I looked at the curriculum and talked to the counselors and stuff, you know, recreation and leisure can be awfully important for human beings to operate at their peak. So Friday is sort of a healthcare day. So my theme today is recreation. So I want to tell you a story. When I was in seminary in Washington, D.C., we had a lot of foreign students, and we had quite a few from Africa. Well, anyway, across the hall from me was a guy from Liberia named Moses. Yes, his name was Moses. So, and then next to him was a fella, I think his name, I don't know if his name was really Joe or if he just went by Joe because that was an abbreviation of his tough name, but he was from Ethiopia. And I remember him primarily because he was fixated on the use of water and the waste of water. I mean, water was like gold to him. And I guess that's just, if you were raised in a desert, you would probably look at water differently than you and I look at it that have it at our fingertips all the time. Well, anyway, so Moses and Joe looked to be pretty distraught over trying to handle seminary here in the United States. Uh, English was tough for them, and I think they missed being home and things. So one day I said to him, I said, "Look, I feel like eating some ice cream. Would you two like to go with me to go eat some ice cream?" And they said, "Well, yeah, I guess." They really never had thought about doing anything fun, I suppose. But anyway, they decided they would go with me to eat ice cream. Well, brothers and sisters, when we got back from that little bit of time away from all the stress and the anxiety of being away from home and trying to study, and their whole demeanor was different. They were positive and they were upbeat, and they were in a good mood, and they began to call me the ice cream man. So anyway, I took the nickname with honor, and I got to thinking later, a few years later, about how important it might be for people to get a break every now and then. So it's not too unreasonable to think about, well, we might need to give some serious thought to our recreation and our leisure in our lives. So I want to kind of just, quickly tell you that you need to find some time where you can get a break. And I'm going to give you some examples of you need to be on guard against watching the news cycle too close and too much. Just, I would watch the news cycle for 30 minutes or so once a day. That's it. Don't sit there and watch the same stuff over and over and over. It's just going to depress you. If they would be talking about positive things, it'd be different. But all they talk about is negative things. Also, whenever there's a storm and then there's a storm damage, if you sit there and look at that storm and wonder what's going to happen with that storm, or you just look at the video of the storm damage over and over and over all day long, you're going to be depressed when you probably need to be a little bit more positive about what either be thankful that you were prepared, or you might want to consider how you can help or assist with it. But don't just watch it all day long. You need to protect yourself from that negative stuff that happens all day long. And the other thing too, I want to make sure you understand, if there is anything that the book of Revelations describes as the beast, it's this thing right here. You don't need to be a captive to this thing. This thing doesn't need to be your God. This thing just needs to be a tool like the rest of the tools we have that we use for all kinds of other positive reasons. Don't let that phone take over your life, and don't let the people that push that phone on you take over your life. So I want to give you two quick examples of taking a break. You need to take a break. My wife does the homework with my young grandson, and she works with him and does his homework with him until his mother gets home. She teaches school. And sometimes I just have to go in there. They're at each other's throat trying to, one's trying to get him to do the work and the other one's trying to figure out how to get out of it. And every once in a while, I just have to tell them, just quit now. Just go your separate ways for a few minutes and then get back together later. Sometimes, you can just let something build up to where it begins to take control. Instead of you controlling it, it takes control of you. And there's a lot of things we are involved in that we need to protect ourselves from allowing them to control our lives. We need to be the one that controls these influences. So just remember, every now and then when you're up against something tough, you may need to take a break and learn and get yourself kind of reoriented and recentered, and then come at it again from a more fresh way. Now, the other thing too, we have a saying in construction, and it came from agriculture when people were working around all the machinery and stuff with the dust blowing in the air. But we have a term where we used to say, whenever things would get complicated and we didn't know exactly what to do, we'd say, well, let's let the dust clear. Basically, what we're talking about is as you're working, you're throwing dust in the air, and pretty soon you get so much dust in the air, you really can't see what you're doing. So we would use the term, well, let's let the dust clear. Sometimes we'd be up against a difficult angle to figure out, or how to make two roofs come together, or various things like that. And then we just have to simply say, let's let the dust clear, and then we'll check it later. And you go get a drink of water and sit down for a moment, and then let your mind clear out, and then you're ready to go. So the last issue I want to bring up, and it may be the most important for the church. If you want to share the good news of Jesus, don't do it in such a way that it pushes people away from the message. You can be so hard-headed about the way you want to share the good news that it can be somewhat like my wife and my grandson trying to get homework done. There's a certain time when you just need to take a break. If you want to share good news, or if you want to just give good advice to people, there's a way to do it, and then there's a way to take a break from it and let what you've done work. One time I was told by a fella, he said, if Christianity was such a great deal, how come you have to work so hard at selling it? That makes sense. If the good news we have is such a wonderful and joyous and powerful thing, why do we have to push it on people so hard? If somebody's thirsty and you just show them the glass of water, they're going to say, can I have it? You don't have to take the glass of water and hit them on the top of the head with it. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't push too hard on things to the point where you begin to get stressed out, and you just live in constant anxiety. Take a break, get away for a moment, let the dust clear, and by all means, get rid of this thing for part of the day and just look at the trees and the sky and the birds, and just take a break and let yourself regenerate. So recreation and leisure is not playtime. Recreation and leisure is a time in which you take advantage of the rejuvenation that takes place from resting. So brothers and sisters, take a break, let the dust clear, and look, go get some ice cream with Moses. I'll see you in church Sunday.